personality and experience, feel free to fill in.
No, to be honest, I'm really flattered with all this introduction, and I will go into some of these numbers because I know some of you might be making the numbers. I'm not like 80 or haven't been working for 90 years to get these numbers, so I will have to acknowledge some things here. And this is only possible because of the growth that Qualifies has been having for the past couple of years since I joined. And it's just an amazing work of a lot of people. And I saw you struggling with the head of quality kind of part because you talked to our head of quality probably with Carla almost 2 years ago already, right?
Yeah.
And she's been great part of this success. She's now enjoying a maternity leave because she had a beautiful baby, and she's still at home spending some time with her. But this is thanks to her push to make this bigger, and to all the people in the team, especially the quality team. I know some of the members of the team are connected to the webinar as well. And these numbers are only possible because of the great growth that we've had as Qualifies. Right now, we're conducting around 20 audits per week, which is just insane. And that allows us to get a lot of insights from the industry and from experts like some of you in the audience as well. So we'll cover mostly some of the supplier management and where to start, supplier management requirements, and where to start with this. Then what information is out there for you to use to your advantage, what tools you have, how to approach auditing, how to approach outsourcing auditing, then what to look out and consider when approaching a third-party auditing company as part of your supplier management strategy and your risk mitigation strategy altogether. And then reflect some minutes on the future of risk mitigation and supplier management. And then hopefully we'll have enough time for your very valuable questions, which will make this much more interesting and more dynamic. So let's hope we can get to that. I will close the poll now, or can you do it, Jan? Fantastic. I'm looking at the numbers. So most of you are working directly at pharmaceutical companies. So you have these headaches of having to control all of your supply chains. And around 28% of you are part of these supply chains and are part of this chain of value for the industry. And I also see 5 of you fellow auditors that are supporting these tasks. I'm sure we'll try to get some valuable insights from the industry that can be useful for you all. So where do we start here? Let me see if this is working. Yes, I would like to start this presentation and break the ice a bit with a quote from Charles Guillaume Etienne, and I will do my best to read it in French. On n'est jamais servi si bien que par soi-même, which would directly translate to something like one is never served so well as by oneself. You probably are saying, I've never heard this quote. You probably heard the more popular translation, and I've heard it a bunch of times, right? If you want something done right, do it yourself. Probably some of you out there are already nodding their heads to this sentence in agreement. But I would say there's a problem with it because the quote comes from a comedy play from the year 1807. And this is most definitely not related to a pharmaceutical industry or to any industry whatsoever of the 21st century. So I think we can update it a little bit. And I prefer something along the lines of, if you want something right, be sure to give it to an expert. And it includes a catch because that expert might not be you. Of course, this is not as easily done as said. This is a reduced, and I'm stressing the word reduced here, this is a reduced scheme of all the players that we can find in the pharmaceutical supply chain. Of course, I did my best, but I can almost bet that some of you are already thinking, oh, he forgot about this. Oh, he forgot about that. Or maybe some of you, the 28% that are part of this chain, are saying, yeah, another slide where my company is not represented. This actually proves the point I want to make. There are so many stakeholders and agents out there that it's practically impossible to fit all of them into one slide. I'm trying to cover manufacturers, I'm trying to cover service providers, I'm trying to cover other services not directly related to the manufacturing of medicines, but the slide could be so big that it's impossible to fit everyone in. And if you see in all directions, almost everyone in the image is getting something from or outsourcing part of their processes to someone else. And in some of these cases, or many of these cases, this material or this outsourced service will be critical to the product that they're putting into the market. And I've always been curious about, okay, how do people sleep at night when someone else is having such a big impact on the quality and the safety profile of the products that they're putting their brands to, right? And you know that you want to be sure that everything is running smoothly and that everyone is doing their job right. And imagine one of your suppliers would change something in their process, and this change could potentially have some impact on your product whatsoever. I guess you would like to know that something will be changing. I guess you would like to be involved in that change. You would have to approve to that change. And more importantly, you would like to know that you would know. This is a very complicated thing for me to say, but how can you rely everything that's happening outside of your own control? So this is where you start having some control measures over your suppliers. Then we come to the $1 million question, and I really hope this is not the reason why you're here, because the question would be, how do I choose the right, or should I say the best supplier for the products or materials or services that I need? I'm saying I hope this is not the reason why you're here, because it's 200 of you there, and I have to tell you, there is no one answer to this question. At least I'm not the person who will try to convince you that I can give you this answer today. That being said, I think we still have some experiences in the industry. We still have some um, insights that we have gathered through these experiences with auditors, with ODTs, with customers, with pharmaceutical companies, and all of that. And I will try to share some of this and my opinions also on how to design a good system that will allow you to evaluate your suppliers. And that will also give you some tools to use that are there already available for you to use in your favor. That will give you enough information to make a well-educated and informed decision about suppliers, service providers. And okay, let's start with the first step. Probably the first step to establish this system and to be able to manage, qualify, and monitor your suppliers is probably one of the pharmaceuticals industry's best friend, the risk assessment, right? Well, here we come to this point. Where do we start? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Of course, some of you out there already know there is a scientifically correct answer to this question, but it's still an interesting thought experiment. And I think it also applies to what we're trying to do here to evaluate suppliers and service providers. So let's go to this part of the risk assessment, which you will feed with day-to-day information or information that you have gathered previously while selecting your potential suppliers. And you have a lot of information out there if you're already working with them, right? You're receiving batches of materials every day. You are constantly sending things out for subcontracted analysis and so on. So you gather this information and you know the drill. You identify the risk, you quantify the probability, impact, detectability, and all of that. And I'm not going to get too much into detail of risk assessment because you probably already attended one of Jan's webinars on this. I think there was one recently. So you know how this goes. And after here, you're probably already categorizing your suppliers and service providers into, let's say, high risk, low risk, maybe critical risk. Maybe you decide how to classify, right? And then you have to come up with the control strategies. So probably for lower risk suppliers, you might be comfortable only with monitoring them with publicly available information. So let's say you're comfortable with assessing your lower risk suppliers with maybe public information out there or paper audits, questionnaires, and so on. So that information you then refactor into your risk assessments, and then you confirm or change the category of your suppliers. And then let's focus on where the interesting things happen. So let's go to the higher risk ones. Those will probably make it into your audit plans. And after establishing